Thank you, Brother Steve. Again, if you have your Bibles, open with me to Daniel chapter 12. Today we come to the finality of our study through the book of Daniel, and it's always a little bittersweet for me whenever I finish a sermon series. But I got to admit that it's been 13 weeks we've been in this book. This 13-week study has been one of the toughest in my preaching career, and that's because Daniel is, if you haven't noticed, a really tough book to read. Much less study, much less put together your thoughts in a cohesive way, much less actually have to put something together in a cohesive way to actually present to people. It's a tough book, it really is. But that said, I do pray that it's been a blessing to you all. I pray that it's been a blessing going through this book, that you've maybe learned a little bit more about the book of Daniel, perhaps more than you knew before, especially in regard to the second half of the book, the second half of Daniel, those final 6 chapters. Oftentimes, and I think I've said this before going through the book, but oftentimes when it comes to the book of Daniel, preachers, they tend to only focus on that first half of the book, mostly because it's easier. The first half is easier. It's low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit to preach on, great stories, but, Daniel defying the king, or the fiery furnace, or the lion's den. Again, those are awesome stories, great stories. That's why we remember them and we know them. But the deep waters are when you get into that second half. When you get into that vision that we looked at of the 2-horned ram and the 1-horned goat, and then the message from the angel Gabriel when he visited Daniel, and then Michael the archangel in the end times, all of those things, those are deep waters. That's deep, deep stuff. And as I said throughout this series, we dealt with different difficult theological issues like